want to bring in former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on this. And Kevin, good day to you. You noted it. I remember hearing it from you back in the day. Chris Murphy, Democratic senator, says no doubt. He says there's no doubt about it. The debate is whether it was enough that it compromised his ability to act as chief executive. Now, there's a bunch of books out there right now. Maybe there's more coming off the top of my head. I can't think of one, but perhaps that happens. At which point do Democrats finally shake this? Because it's just a cloud that's moving over them every day.
They're trying to ignore it. They're trying to say, oh, we're just looking forward. But I think the leaders that covered this up should have to resign. So that means Schumer and Hakeem should actually resign because they saw the same thing I did. And when I came forward with what was going on, they all attacked me. They tried to even do the cover-up. Instead of just not saying anything, they attacked those who tried to tell the truth. And they allowed the country to be in this position. That's not a place for a leader to be. When you can see what was going on in the White House, and Dana, you know this better than anything, that White House is a place that is humming. Under Biden, nothing. It is so quiet. And then when you had meetings with him, you had a different meeting every time. But there's times his mind was not there. That he led me into the swimming pool one time. Another time he was dazed that he saw his wife Jill. And why did Jill have to be in so many meetings?
Unlike others, you were honest about what was happening. You told people what you saw. No, so yesterday, we don't have this sound, but Jake Sullivan, who's a national security advisor, he's being interviewed yesterday, asked if he ever noticed anything. And it's reported in the book that a couple of times the president looked at him and called Jake Sullivan Steve. And he said, nope, never saw anything. I mean, but you imagine that the Democrats were calling for the 25th Amendment against President Trump in his first term. And none of these people thought this was a concern, that the President of the United States and his national security advisor didn't have clear lines of communication?
No. But the worst part is, privately together, they acknowledged his problems. They made jokes about it. They said he was our zombie. This is the highest leaders in the cabinet would say this about this president, because they would talk about him not recognizing him, calling him by a different name, and then go out and attack those who ever brought it forward. That, to me, is the biggest crime of all, to allow this to go forward, to put America in this jeopardy. And then you wonder why we had such terrible foreign policy. Why were new wars created? Why did we look weaker on the world stage? Why did we lose? Well, they're at fault because they covered up. And this is a country that if somebody falls behind, somebody else is elected to step into that position. They should not have been silent. And if they were leaders and they were silent, they should step away from their jobs.
New York Times did a focus group of Democrats. These are voters now, okay? Here's 4 quotes. Ariel's age 23, Indiana. What do you think of the Democratic Party? Disappointing a little bit. Harold out of Florida, age 54. Ariel took the words out of my mouth, he said. Disappointing. Spencer, age 30, out of Illinois, white therapist. Useless. I'm sorry, is his quote. Terrell, age 39, Texas, black nonprofit. Inept is his quote. How do you turn that around?
You have to turn it around. It has to change. I mean, it's not just the voters. Look at the Democratic leader in the Senate in Florida. He literally resigned from the party because he says the party has left him. If the party has gone so far one way, because remember what the party has done. They changed their election rules about which state starts first. They pre-pick who can be their nominee. They deny other people from even running, like RFK. So in those situations, what they need to do is start with new leadership. That's the only way they're going to build trust. And they need to start with ideas. Get off this idea that your whole campaign is to just oppose President Trump. Go out and talk about policies. And for the first time, I saw a few Democrats literally crediting President Trump with his foreign policy trip he just went on. Finally, they're only waking that up because their own voters are telling them, you're
Kevin,
being dumb and we're voting for somebody else.
Sorry to jump in, but I do want to get you on record with this topic. Let's just play from Speaker Johnson. He's trying to get a big, beautiful bill done. You know how this goes. Let's play his sound here.
Meeting you were having with folks inside there, go.
Forward progress. We're going to look at some numbers tonight, keep this thing moving forward.
So there's no guarantee that you're having a budget committee meeting tomorrow?
We're having a budget committee meeting tomorrow. That's the plan.
What if it doesn't get out of budget tomorrow?
It'll get out of budget.
You're confident?
I'm confident.
Any words of advice, or either for him or for us, on how we cover this? Because I've decided not to look at it for a couple days, but it seems like President Trump is now being called upon to weigh in and bring these people together.
Well, nothing ever passes unless President Trump's behind it. But first and foremost, this bill is going to pass. Because think about it. It's not like it's a brand new bill. All this is doing is codifying the tax code that we have. So if you vote against this bill, you're raising taxes. If we're concerned that Chip Roy is complaining about a bill, wait till Monday, he'll complain about the next bill. This bill is going to pass the budget. This bill is going to pass the floor next week. There's no other place. Now, if the Speaker asks for my advice, structure dictates behavior. What you should have done is work these problems out in the room with the people you're talking to now a month ago. And that way, once it passed the floor, once it passed the committee, it'll pass the floor. It's just, you need to work these problems out. But this bill has to pass. No Republican can sustain themselves by voting against it. All you're doing is raising taxes, and it's the president's promise, no tax on tips and others. Jason Smith has done a tremendous job in Ways and Means. They passed the bill. If it's Ralph Norman and Chip Roy complaining, they'll complain about the next bill, but they'll fall in line. And if you see the SALT, you'll get to that, but you should have negotiated that already.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
Good to have you.
A lot of plates spinning in that bill still. We'll see how it works out. Kevin, thank you for your time today. We'll
Thank
see you in
you.
New York soon.